a lot of that, because I've been watching that Otter that show, watching people, and there's something he's been saying to all of them, like when they have like credit card debts they've been carrying and the interest, where he says like you're not a credit card person. I guess personally I feel like you have to become one. You can't not be a credit card person. The level of benefits you can derive from a credit card aren't, if you don't have the money, I don't know how you can afford to not use a credit card in terms of the benefits you gain. The ability to, the amount of cash back alone says like you can get like 5% off. If you can't afford stuff, how can you afford to just be paying 5% straight up off of everything? That
Yeah.
I don't.
So I understand what you're saying. The way that I would say is a credit card person is there are certain ways to look at money, and people that are bad with debt tend to look at money. This is a feeling that I have. I get this a lot from my parents and other poor people, is people that look at all available lines of credit as a cash balance in their bank. These are people that need to either dramatically change their spending habits or have somebody else manage their shit for them. So yeah, that's what I would say. You don't, like, I've never had to learn to use a credit card in my life. I've always known, even when I was poor, that debt is bad. Consumer debt is generally bad. And a lot of people just don't understand that. Like, oh, well, I got $5,000 available on credit card. That's $5,000 cash I can spend. And as long as I make the minimum monthly payments, that's fine, because they don't understand interest. They don't understand time value associated with money, and they don't understand how the debt works. So yeah, that's what I would say. You can like become a credit card person or be a credit card person without even using them yet. You just have to have a good understanding of how the money all ties together with itself. Yeah.
Because I've never met someone like that. I don't understand what that. So what you're saying to me, I guess, feels like a complete. Just how can you perceive your credit line as cash in your pocket? You don't have that money.
But you do have that money. You do
have
have that money. You go to the store and you swipe a card and they give you things in exchange for that money. So it does feel like you have that money. That's the problem.
But you still have to have cash at some point in the future to pay that money. So like you're not paying it in the moment.
That's a future problem.
That hurts my brain. That like I've never seen I guess I've never had my credit cards off of auto payments where they auto pay at the end of the month, and I just have it like auto give me cash for my cash back.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. My uncle I think my uncle, by the time he died, I think he was showing, I want to say it was on like $20,000 of income, because he did most of his work off books, building shit for people. But his primary job was like a 7-Eleven gas station person. So I'm pretty sure his final tax returns, I think his 1040s were showing like around $20,000 of income. He had around $25,000 of credit card debt. I didn't even know how that was possible. I offered to like sort through his finances once to help him out, and he brought with me like the book where he'd written down like everything that he owed. And some of these cards had like $5,000 or $10,000 available on their like these cards at that point in my life, I hadn't asked for an increase on my balances, but he had like more credit available to him than I did. And I was making like 5 times, 10 times as much money as him. And I'm like, how the does this even work? And he said that like, well, anytime I can't use a credit card because it gets declined, usually what I do is I go home and I call the credit card company and I say, hey, can you increase the credit limit available on the card? And as long as he'd been making the minimum monthly payments, they'd increase the credit limit. Sometimes they double it. And that's how he would just keep building more and more and more and more debt. And yeah, so I don't know how, maybe my uncle was exceptionally stupid when it comes to managing debt. But I feel like a lot of poor people, yeah, when they look at like credit available to them it's the same as cash basically. Yeah.
They don't perceive the idea that money's that you do have to pay that at some point. Like,
yeah, it's insane. Yeah. Somebody in YouTube chat said, you're lying. People like this don't exist. And if they do, they don't get a credit card. I wish that was the case, my friend, but that doesn't seem to be the case. But yeah, my uncle died with like, 25 or whatever $1,000 of credit card debt. So technically it worked out for him, I guess. Yeah.
I've started believing it as I've been watching that auditor guy more. The more people talk about where they have all these, they keep buying things, but you don't have any money. If you have if you had like $10,000 in your credit card, let's say you have another $10,000 to spend, like that you could spend, but you already know you need $10,000 just to make that go away, and when that interest hits, it's gonna hit you hard. Like that you.
What do you mean? It never hits. It's just always there in your monthly payments.
A minimum, I guess. That's something I was talking to my dad about. He's trying to explain to me the same thing, where he says that people who view like monthly payments, that they when they say like, yeah, I think this can work, they're talking about. They just see it as a monthly cost. They don't view it as an actual number beyond that. And so it's like, will this car work for our budget? And you're like, no, it's a $40,000 car. But they're like, well, no, but the guy says we can get it for $300 a month. And all you think about is that $300 a month, not in. And I'm like, that's just, I guess that's not how my brain works.
It's dumb, but like, I will say this, okay? So I'm giving you a warning. I might be totally wrong on this, okay? So if somebody wants to link me something showing that I'm wrong, I'd be interested in updating my beliefs. But I don't think your credit score, I don't think that matters at all when it comes to qualifying for loans. I think the credit score only matters insofar as your rates. If you walk into a place and you've got a credit score of like 520, but they look at your history and you've made, well, no, you wouldn't have a credit score that low. But like, as long as you're making your payments and as long as you have a job and you can show income, people will increase your shit as long as you got the money every month to make the payment. At the end of the day, I think that's all they care about. They might look at your FICO and they might use that to give you a better, like a prime interest rate or a premium interest rate or something like that. But for the most part, as long as you can make the payments and as long as you have a job and as long as you've got a history of paying on time, I don't know if they give a f about your credit score. They're just looking at like payment history and income. Yeah, I think that's the case. So, yeah.
Does this ever come back to, because I feel like I know people who don't make that much money, but the sheer amount of stuff I see them have and trips they go on, and I'm like, I wonder if that's like, if you're taking it on credit, when does that come back to bite them? Like, there's ever a point that it feels like it just goes on forever? There's just like, yeah, no, their credit just forever goes up. And you're like, there's really not a breaking point here? I don't.
What do you mean? Well, the breaking point is going to be at some point, the monthly payments get so high that they have to chill on their spending and then they're just capped out getting by interest until they declare bankruptcy, I guess. But it doesn't matter at that point. Like, it's okay because the credit cards have probably made all their money back in interest anyway. So even if you discharge the debt in a Chapter 7, like we made money on interest and fees. So
because the amount of money you're losing when you have to pay interest, your monthly payments get high like that you're not even like, the thing that you bought could have been long gone, broken or otherwise, and yet you still have a debt and you're still paying for it monthly for something you don't even have anymore. And like, when it cuts a point, is there not a point where it starts to like stress someone that says like, wow, I'm paying $1,000 for months for things I don't even have? Like, the problem is credit is like health, and credit cards and debt are like yummy foods. It's really hard for me. If you eat a huge chocolate chip cookie, you don't get fat right away, but you get the reward of the cookie right away. Right? Now, you might get fat down the road, but you get the good shit right the now. So when I walk into a store, well, here's a huge TV. I could buy it or I could wait like 2 months, or I could have that TV right the now. Not only do I get to buy the TV now because of credit, there might even be promotional shit. First 2 months, no payment, or 12 months, same as cash, 0% APR. There might be all these incentives. Like, so I'm already, first of all, because of the way human brains work, because of the way time discounting works, you're already incentivized to buy it immediately because I don't have to pay for it now. I can just give you a credit. I don't even need a down payment. So you can already like charge it later. And then there might even be more incentives on top of that. So if you're not like very financially or just financially literate, yeah, it's very easy to get sucked into those debt traps and think you're making good decisions. And you can even hear people like justifying the dog shit decisions using like this weird rationale that like almost sounds like it could be true. Have you ever played poker? Yeah, I love Texas Hold'em.
Oh, do you know a lot about like? Have you ever heard of like implied pot odds?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. You can use a lot of stupid math in poker to make it sound like retarded decisions you're making are actually really good ones. But it's the same with like finance too. You can like, yeah, well, let's say it's 12 months, same as cash. And if I buy the TV now, well, it's on sale. It's Black Friday now. If I wait 2 months and I buy it, it's going to be more than even the interest I would have paid if I don't pay it off. Like, people make all sorts of stupid decisions like this. Like, it's so dumb. Yeah.